Welcome. Welcome to another live stream for Global Astronomy Month. We are celebrating Global Star Party today. I'm your host, Andrew Fazakis. I work with Astronomers Without Borders, not international nonprofit, where we build community using astronomy, the wonders of the universe. And of course, our motto is One People, One Sky, and Global Star Party is a great example of our motto of bringing people around the world together. We have a huge community that spans over 143 different countries with thousands of members, many of them educators, amateur astronomers, people like you and me who love the night sky and love to share our heritage that we have, the connection that we have with the night sky, and the power that it has to bring people together in peace like nothing else does. And today is very special because, of course, we are part of this whole month long of celebration. Astronomers Without Borders, this is the 16th edition that we're hosting of Global Astronomy Month. And Global Star Party is one of those flagship events where we like to connect with people around the world doing community engagement. Could be a star party, presentations, webinars, all kinds of different ways of making connections with people. And today we have a series of live streams. You may have joined us earlier on a couple of hours ago. We were actually talking to folks in Nigeria and also in Japan. We had a sneak preview of what they were doing in Japan, which was really, really nice. Seeing them looking through a telescope, which was really impressive, with people, children, families watching the moon. And then we also saw solar observing, watching the sun from Nigeria in the middle of the day with our national coordinator in Nigeria. So it was really cool being able to see these different parts of the world being highlighted thanks to the technology of the internet. And right now we're going to be joined with our national coordinator in Belgium, Raoul, who is on standing by here, who's going to share some of the events that in his neck of the woods, in his region, of things that are have been happening. So let's see if we can bring Raoul in here. There we are. Let's see if we can bring in the audio.
Okay.
Hello, Raoul.
Hello.
Nice of you to join us today.
Okay. Um, there have been several very interesting days in the past 10 days. Um, all over I mean, mostly for me in the French-speaking side of Belgium. That's Brussels and then what's in the south. And there, for instance, the last week of March is generally considered for the universities in Wallonia and Brussels as the spring of sciences, le printemps des sciences. And every year we go to Louvain-la-Neuve, which is a university city. It became a real city. It used to be Louvain, Leuven, the famous university in Louvain, which is in the Flemish side. And in 68, the French-speaking students had to move to another place, and they chose, not far from where I live, Jean Blou, a new place for the university, and it became a huge, very interesting city because the cars are left aside and you walk most of the time. So it's made for walking. And at that university, there is um, well, for the Printemps des Sciences, the Spring of Sciences, there is some activities for astronomers, and namely a inflatable planetarium, as I mentioned several weeks ago during a meeting. And there was, again this time, the inflatable planetarium, not at the usual place, but another one. And on Thursday, that's 9 days ago, we went to try to figure out how it works because we have to train. handling a keyboard inside an inflatable planetarium plus the mouse is extremely tricky because it is counterintuitive actually. When you want to go to the left, it, the arrow on the screen on top of you, it's not a screen, it's the underside of the planetarium, goes to the other side. So you have to get used to going to the right place. And then you have all those children around you. They are waiting impatiently for explanations. And you finally find the object you want to aim at, choose and explain what it is. And the interesting thing is, for instance, nowadays you have Mars, planet Mars, not far from Castor and Pollux. And you can change every day. You choose to show the sky that the very same day, but in the evening. And then you go back to the past one day, another one day in the past, and so on. And then you go to the future every one day. 24 hours later, you show exactly the same sky, and you see that Mars is moving every day relative to Castor and Pollux from the Gemini constellation. And that's very interesting. And in the real life, it's the same thing. So, for instance, well, I'm going to talk about it later, but for that planetarium, it was a very interesting way to show what goes on with the planets and the various stars. And then you have also M1, Messier 1, the Crab Nebula. And that's very interesting to show the history of its discovery or its non-discovery for Europeans. And what evolved much later into a pulsar nebula thanks to a woman who was not celebrated as she should have been in 67. So you can talk about the history of discovery of a supernova in 1054 on the 4th of July. And you say, how come you know it's that day? Well, the Chinese had the information. And you go from one event to the other for the same object in that planetarium. And then you choose another object, very hard to aim it with your mouse. And after a whole session, you get kind of dizzy, like seasick, because you move all the time. The landscape changes. And I did that on Sunday from 10:30 to 6:30 in the evening.
And how many you had children going through the planetarium or
It's
families?
about 20. You can welcome about 20 persons at the same time inside the planetarium. But to get into the inflatable planetarium is kind of sporty. Because you have to dive literally. They open with scratch the door. It's not a door, it's all inflated. Huh? You have to dive into it and find a place around to let the others, and do that as fast as possible, because during the time the people get in, it deflates. It goes down and down and down. And then at a certain point, if it's too long opened, that deflates so much that it reaches your head if you stand. So we ask them to do that as quickly as possible. It's kind of interesting, an exercise to sit around and then start explaining. But you're not very familiar. The keyboard is completely different from a normal keyboard, because you have the symbols for planets, for landscapes, to go further, to go in time, or to go backwards in time, so many days or so many minutes, and so on. So it's, and you have to learn that several minutes before the first session. And on Thursday, we had a session that was not planned because there was a group of children who were available. They lost or they could not find the teacher for another session, a session somewhere else in Louvain-la-Neuve. And then they were there. So, okay, let them in and we'll
Yeah.
find a way to entertain them. And it was kind of interesting.
And
We
Raul, tell me what are the children's reactions? What do you find? How do they take to these planetary indoor planetarium shows?
So the younger they are, the better.
Oh yeah.
No, I think it's generally the case. Huh? The younger they are, and the more questions they ask, they're not afraid. But the older they are, well, sometimes they talk to each other, they make
Yeah.
fun. I mean, they enjoy the fact that they think nobody sees them because it's in the dark.
Yeah.
but and then you have the adults. I mean, last year we had teachers with them, and this year too. But for instance, it's sometimes it's the teacher uh, or the guide who asks questions rather than the boys and the girls. The older they are, the less they want to ask questions. Seemingly, that's. I mean, there's something we know that we can be faced with. But with the adults, well, you have sometimes experts too you don't know. And on the Sunday, we had the general public. So it's not just the school children, because during the spring of sciences, the schools, weeks before, they apply for a session. They have a whole on the computer. The teacher selects what they're going to see, at what time, who they are, how many they are, and so on. And normally, when they arrive there, okay, there's one guy missing, and that guy was on the other side, or late to come, and so on. But it's generally well organized for schools. Now it's a university, so the young students, we don't see them actually. I mean, there are students who share with us the animation, and because it's not just the club, the astronomy club, it's also a local student astronomy club, Cot Astro, they call that a cot, the cot, and Astro. But the thing is, those students, they know their stuff, but every year they are different because they go up in their school. I mean, their university. Sometimes after 4 or 5 years, they're gone, or even after 2 or 3 years, they're replaced. So and in during the weekends, they are gone to their families. They're there during the week. We are there for the weekend because the astronomy club has been created knowing that there are some well, you don't have astronomy during weekends the way astronomy clubs work, but it's for you for students during the week. And during the week, the adults, well, they work, or they are in families, or there's a difference in uh, timing between the students and the public, and also the school children. And that's
Absolutely. And
yeah.
Raul, I wanted to ask because we're showing on the screen some pictures of like people outside, obviously in a parking lot. There are
Ah, yes.
telescopes set up. Can you
Okay,
explain a little?
that's in Brussels for the partial eclipse. And you have telescopes during daylight, sunny daylight. So Neil showed his part, and we had in Brussels also many. Now, they didn't sell, that's another club. So the club in Louvain-la-Neuve is called CAO, Club d'Astronomie d'Ottigny Louvain-la-Neuve. And the club in Brussels is Latitude 5050. That's the latitude of Brussels, so more or less the place where they have, it's Woluwe-Saint-Pierre, one of the communes inside Brussels. And they had a public event for the partial eclipse, and they were very lucky that at the same time in the domain they had another event. So we had a captive public. Anyway, the only thing is, I hoped I could find a place to park for my stuff to unload the car, and I was there early enough to find a parking place anyway. And they sold 200 uh, uh, eclipse shades.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and you know it's great because these eclipse glasses, you know, with
yes.
these amateur clubs being able to provide these glasses, it really offers a safe way to view the partial eclipse. And I'm just showing people. I'm going to show people the picture that you provided of the eclipse itself. Let me just get that on the
Mhm.
camera here. There we are. We see the partial eclipse. So this is what the eclipse looked like from Belgium, right?
Yes, exactly. Nice weather. Uh, we were surrounded by lots of people, children and their families and elderly people too, because it was a event for elderly people in the domain. Now, the thing is, those eclipse shades in '99, we had that famous total solar eclipse of north of France going all the way to Iran. And in fact, Mike Simmons became interested in AWB after the total solar eclipse of '99 because he went to Iran. If he told you, I don't know. But the thing is, the eclipse shades are fragile, and you have to test them to see that they are fine. They won't be. They are not damaged. But because you store them for a long time without, because there are no occasions to use them, they might get damaged inside a box or not. And the way we tested it at the time in '99 was to look at a lamp with a filament inside. And if you could only see the filament and no halo around it, it meant that this eclipse shade was perfect. But the problem is nowadays we don't have those lamps anymore with a filament. So there's another way. I don't know exactly how to test them. Directly see the sun like that? I'm not sure. But at the time, okay, 1 Belgian franc, 1 euro was worth 40 Belgian francs. 1 euro today was worth 40 Belgian francs. I bought 100 uh, eclipse shades for 100 Belgian francs. I sold them at 10 Belgian francs each one. And nowadays, it's 2.5, it's 2 euro for one eclipse shade. So that's 80 Belgian francs. So the huge difference in 26 years. But the thing is, we we have to be careful with those eclipse shades. And I thought I would be asking for some of them in a pharmacy, but actually it's a optician. The opticians sell them. Not
Yeah, it's very interesting you bring that up because in North America too, during the eclipse last year, particularly in April, the April eclipse
yes,
in 2024, there were a lot of these eclipse glasses that were being sold at optician stores, and very interesting because there were hundreds of these stores scattered across the totality, the line, the
Yes.
path of totality that stretched from southwestern United States right into Canada, into
Yeah.
eastern Canada, and they were selling these or giving them away. And this is what's really nice, is that a lot of them were actually just giving away glasses. And of course, AWB was instrumental in collecting a lot of these glasses, right, Raul? You
Yes.
remember,
Yes.
we collected a lot, and we're currently giving them away. So there are a lot of hundreds of collection centers across the United States and Canada, all kinds, schools, libraries, planetariums, that have collected these, vetted them, looking to make sure that they're safe, there's no
Yes.
holes or scratches, and then storing them properly until we find new homes for them around the world. And in fact, this past eclipse, the one that was on March 29th, the partial
Mhm.
eclipse, we actually sent tens of thousands of these glasses from our collection sites to England, to
Oh,
many that were distributed to a lot of different schools there for the partial eclipse. And we are going to be actually in our next coming up live stream later today. We'll be
yeah.
talking to our national coordinator for United Kingdom, of course, Neil Saunders, who
Mhm.
was instrumental in distributing these glasses. He's going to tell us a little bit about that. So if people watching, our audience watching, might want to stay tuned for that later today, Saturday, April 5th, for our next live stream for that. But Raul, I wanted to ask you before we go, because we're going to have to, we'll have to go, but I wanted to ask you, in all your years of experience of doing outreach with
Mhm.
the public, with children and families and people of all
Mhm.
ages, and you have lots of experience of this, what, if you could get the whole world together for tonight, what would you want to show them the most? What would be your passion to show people in the
Well,
sky?
tonight, I don't know if it's going to be I suppose it's going to be the case in Canada. You have a Mars Moon conjunction,
Oh, wow.
both very close to each other, and right after sunset, when the sky becomes really dark. I mean, when you see the moon, you see that red spot right next to it. I think it's below, and because well, a few days ago, 1st of April, it was not April's Fool. It's a real stuff. I knew, and we knew in Belgium, that if it's nice weather, we would be able to see the occultation of the Pleiades by the moon. I don't know if it happened in Canada, maybe
Yeah,
not.
yeah. Yes, we had that the other day.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
But we
beautiful.
had from 10:30 in the evening to after midnight, one star after the other being occulted by the moon and then reappearing. But the interesting thing was that the moon was very crescent, so most of the moon was in shadow. And to take a picture was ideal because you could take a 4 second long or 3 second long exposure picture of the moon, and then you'd see the stars, but you'd also see Earthlight on the
Yes.
surface of the moon. And that's what's very interesting. And from where I live, I only had to make a few hundred steps, not that much, to have the best place to be able to follow it completely. No, there were not that many people around it, but
Yes,
uh,
but Raul, I want to know, before we sign off, I want to know personally from you, what
mhm.
inspires you to go out and do outreach after all these years that you've been participating and doing this? Because it's obviously you're very passionate about it. What inspires you to do outreach, to show other people through the telescope and at the night sky and all these wonders? What inspires you?
Well, I know lots of people, and that's one thing, like because I'm trilingual, French, English, and Flemish. So I know lots of people, and when they have something and they know me, they can contact me and okay, I'm going like in Louvain-la-Neuve. the CIO is not my club. I'm president of the club of Jean Blou, which is not it's the geographic center of uh, Belgium, Jean Blou, in town. It's 26,000 inhabitants, and they know me, and they organize something, and I go and share that. I have my
Mhm.
instruments, my telescope, my Lund telescope for the sun, or my binoculars. The thing is, well, I when I was 11, I saw 2001: A Space Odyssey the first time. So
Yes.
I think I've seen it 11 times before it became a
Very cool film. Yes.
uh, I, you know, the most awful thing about the movie 2001 is that at one point in the real life, we arrived at the 1st of January 2002.
Yeah.
So all of the year 2001 was behind. It was no more science fiction in the future. Well, okay, but that's what made me fascinated by space, astronomy, science, science fiction, and classical music. Also,
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, it's obviously, it's a convergence of,
yes. Yeah.
science and
And also
art,
the
you
age.
know?
I read
Yes.
a book, The Making of 2001 by Jerome Agel. It's all yellowish now in my my library. Uh, the guys, those who were interested in the movie at the time were between 10 and 14 years old, and
Hmm.
I was 11, and mainly boys. I remember a girl behind me trying to convince another girl I was in love with not to go to see the movie because he couldn't understand. It's very
Yeah.
strange. And then I realized you're talking about 2001. Yes. Oh, but it's not a movie, it's an experience. So,
You know that 2001 is obviously Space Odyssey was a huge influence on a whole
yes,
generation of
yes,
young people. You included. I came a little bit after that. For me, the inspiration similar, except this one was with Cosmos with Carl Sagan.
yes,
I was a young teenager during the early 1980s, and that was for me. It was huge. It was eye-opening, and of course,
yes,
Space Odyssey. And I gobbled up all of those things. And I think, yeah, we share, it's really
yeah,
interesting. It just shows that regardless of where we live, right? I mean, you're in Europe and Belgium, I'm in
yeah,
Canada and North America, and we've been talking and will be talking throughout the day with people right across the world. And it's
mhm,
amazing that we all share. I'm listening to your stories, I'm listening to your passion, and it's obvious that there's these very deep connections, and it doesn't matter what language we speak, what culture we're from, where we're located, what our life experience is. That night sky and space, the universe
yeah,
in general, is something that has a deep impact, right, on
mhm,
our psychology. And it's really impressive to see. And I'm talking with people like you. I'm talking with other of our national coordinators around the world today,
mhm,
and I'm asking these questions. What inspires you? What do you get excited about in outreach? And it's obvious that we do share this. It's common, and I'm hoping that our audience out there notices this commonality that exists throughout the entire world as we're
yes,
speaking.
yes, yes, yes,
It's really
yes,
fascinating to see this common story, and the universe is just filled with so many magical things, Raul. I want to thank you very much for joining us today,
okay,
for
thank
spending a
you.
few moments sharing your experience,
Mhm,
especially in the last few days, sharing some photos that you've taken, and your passion for astronomy outreach. And here at Astronomers Without Borders, we want to thank you, Raul, for all your service, for so many years of helping out and your enthusiasm. It's people like you, our national coordinators, that really, really make the difference and make that connection with the world, and builds community. So thank you
yeah,
very much, Raul, for joining
yeah,
today.
thank you.
Clear
Okay,
skies.
bye, yep, bye.
So, guys, that is another edition that we have of the of our live stream today. We're going to be coming back in probably in about I'm hoping in a half hour. We're going to have our another national coordinator, George, who is in Cyprus. And they are holding a star party there. We're hoping to get a glimpse of what their party looks like, and getting some information of what astronomy outreach looks like in his part of the world. And I'm clouded out here in Montreal, Canada. Unfortunately, it's daytime still. I don't even see the sun here, but we've been lucky today because we were in Nigeria earlier this morning, looking at the sun. We saw people using eclipse glasses, looking at the sun on this in the streets of Nigeria, and we also were in Japan, where we had a peek at the moon through a beautiful large telescope in an observatory there. Lots of outreach. We spoke to some children there in Japan, so it's been fantastic. And the story is still going to continue. There is much more to come all throughout today. Today is still early here in Canada, and it's getting dark in a lot of different places around the world, and we're going to be sharing some more of these amazing places that we have to show you and people and with doing outreach around the world. So thank you for joining me on this little live stream. We'll have another one coming up. We'll have a series of them throughout the day. If you're interested in joining us in celebrating Global Astronomy Month, which is all month long throughout April, you can go to our website at gam.awb.org. That's gam, GAM awb.org. You see on the ticker below, or you can just go to our website, astronomerswithoutborders.org, and follow the links. Simple as that. And of course, Global Star Party is today. That's the featured event for Global Astronomy Month. And of course, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line in the comments section. And don't forget to hit that notification button, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, so that you get notified on the next live stream, which should be in less than 25 minutes. We'll be heading out to Cyprus for our next hit. So thanks so much for joining me. I'm Andrew Fizakis, your host at Astronomers Without Borders. Until the next live stream, clear skies.
从蓝色的小点到远方的恒星，我们是同一群人，拥有同一片天空。
From the pale blue dot to the distant stars, we are one. One people, one sky.